Good morning and welcome to this presentation on AI and digitization in education. And I'm going to share with us a few ideas about how the disruption that AI brings can be beneficial to the education sector as a whole. So first of all, I want to say a big thank you to OES for giving me the opportunity to be part of this program. It's an important program that helps to prepare our educators, our learners, our parents to see artificial intelligence, which we call AI, as not only an agent of disruption, but one that could offer potential benefits for learners in the current age. Before we go on, I will start off by introducing myself. I'm sure you know that my name is Akinwumi Oke, by the way, because that's been introduced. But I come with a background in development as a development practitioner, but I've now evolved into a leadership consultant, practically transitioning into a role that allows me to offer support, particularly to organizations in this era of uncertainty, where a lot of things are changing, a lot of things that we know time tested are being tested themselves. And so I've moved into that role because it's something that I believe has a significant benefit for the future that we all want to embrace. And so those are my contact details, and you can follow me on LinkedIn particularly. That's my preferred social media platform. Now, I'm going to take us through a few points quickly. I believe I have just about 15 minutes from the organizers. And so after our introductions, I'm going to speak to artificial intelligence and disruption in education. What can we expect? And what are the benefits of artificial intelligence and digitalization? And I'll share a few closing thoughts that we can deliberate on, probably in the panel conversations and the conversations that will go beyond this event. Now, in terms of digitalization in education, what does it mean? It means we're moving from the paper-based world into a world where digital tools are going to be required, where artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence, I initially thought maybe I'll leave that definition to the tech gurus in the house, but it's basically the use of algorithms, computers, and the power of computing to provide us information from a variety of sources in an ordered manner that responds more closely to human thinking. And this is very powerful because what it does is that it allows us to, for instance, offer personalized learning. And as you're probably aware, a number of research has gone into how we learn as individuals. So different individuals learn differently. Some are field-based learners, some are abstract learners. How can we harness the power of technology to bring learning to individuals in a way that they learn? So, for instance, somebody who is a field-based learner, so let me use that, needs examples, needs visuals. Artificial intelligence can aggregate that and offer learning in that context. An abstract-based learner, for instance, somebody who can reason in abstract. It doesn't need so much of visuals. It doesn't need, he or she can grasp ideas in an abstract way. Artificial intelligence allows us to offer that kind of personalized experience, which aids learning. It also allows us to design tools that can tutor where the teacher is not available or to complement the educator's availability. The good thing also about the power of computing that we build into artificial intelligence is that it allows us to get immediate feedback. So for learners, you don't need to wait until the next day, for instance. You don't need to wait until a tutor appears before you get feedback in terms of whether you're right or wrong. It also, in terms of school administrators, allows us to automate basic activities like grading results, and so on. It then means teachers or tutor resources can be scaled significantly. And this is particularly important in our climate in Nigeria, for instance, where we have millions of children who are unable to access school, either because the physical infrastructure is not there or the number of teachers to pupil ratios are just not enough for us to cater to all of these kids. We can use artificial intelligence to automate basic activities around the learning experience, and we can then reach out to as many pupils or learners as possible. Again, for administrators or school owners, it helps to create customized learning content. I think that's personally linked to personalized learning. Again, they can consume content, learners can consume content in a way that suits them. It can also help us to design content in a way that can be used across multiple domains or jurisdictions. So if there's a standard way we want to teach a particular topic, with artificial intelligence, you can multiply that in several languages. So in a country like Nigeria, where we have over 350 languages and so on, you can actually teach at certain levels. So basic education, I think now has been mandated that it has to be taught in the mother tongue. You can immediately create curriculum in those languages that pupils, teachers, administrators can administer to learners in their environment. So when we look at digitalization and artificial intelligence, it does have a number of benefits, even though it's technology that needs a lot of investment in infrastructure. It requires a lot of investment in understanding its power for us as educators. And it's going to also mean that there will be key areas of disruption that we need to look out for. So when we talk about personalized learning, it then means that for teachers or as school administrators, you have the duty to recognize that even though you now have differentiated learning across different individuals, there are tools that can allow you to get that done. Then it means also that there's a shift in teachers' roles. Traditional roles for teachers is to stand in front of the classroom and issue all of those instructions. That is changing now, because as more pupils or learners are having access to some of those tools, they can bring information that means that teachers must, of a necessity, become a facilitator rather than the top-down approach that we've had in the past. Again, teachers also need to understand the language of technology to be able to communicate. So teaching them moves from the chalk and board that we grew up with in the 70s and the 80s to now more digital tools like sending things sending assignments. It used to be paper-based assignments. These days you can assign these things online, and you can use Google Classrooms and those kind of tools. Teachers themselves need to be sufficiently versed in able to translate all of those paper-based learning and instructional materials into the digital space, because this is where you can then scale it and use it across multiple domains. So teachers themselves then need to be mini IT gurus in code, okay? And we need to think about the accessibility and equity of AI and digitalization. Essentially what that means is that because there are wide disparities in accessibility to technology, there would be significant gaps that educators, administrators in education must pay attention to, so that we do not, like we said, leave no child behind. Otherwise, the chasm between the haves and the have-nots continues to grow as we do not take cognizance of some of this. Now, there would be the need for educators, learners, and even administrators for continuous learning and professional development, because new tools are coming up every day. For instance, we have the OES, which can almost, render the need for paper-based administration of schools and learning irrelevant. Because from enrollment to graduation, you have a tool that provides opportunities for learners, provide opportunities for teachers, provide opportunities for administrators to completely manage a school from the virtual world. And that is something that requires significant investment in learning how these technologies work to scale the impact of the learning environment. We will have ethical and privacy concerns because, again, we look at the use of technology. Even though it makes life easier, it also opens the door for things like plagiarism, using other people's works without acknowledging them. This can lead to significant problems if they are not addressed, and making sure that everybody runs in a way that is in line with the ethical requirements of the learning environment. Again, AI would redefine the concept of learning spaces. Like I said earlier, the traditional idea of brick and mortar schools is gone. A few years ago, particularly before COVID, the Nigerian Universities Commission, for instance, will say they will not take an online degree. They will not accredit online universities. But I can tell you today, they've actually approved a virtual university in Nigeria, which is just telling us that to set up a university today, all I need is a computer, a set of servers, and content. I do not necessarily need to have 300 hectares of land. And that is significant because I also remember years ago when I used to lead an education project for the DFID in Lagos, one of the issues was with low-cost private schools. Oh, they must have 2 classrooms to 300 students. They must have this number of toilets and so on. All of those things are out of the window right now with technology because we've got to reimagine how we want to bring people into spaces. I remember a few weeks ago, I was reading Kano State government, the new governor who is demolishing things, was saying that now he wants to run schools, I think 2 sessions in the same space, same primary school, same set of buildings, but some students will come in the morning, some will come in the evening. Basically using that automatically doubling the amount of the number of students that can use the same facility. That I think is a smart move, among other things, but it also means that just like we had during COVID, you can actually train these kids with radio, you can train them with TV without necessarily bringing them into physical classrooms as much as possible if it is not convenient, if it's not feasible. So AI and technology would necessarily redefine the concept of learning spaces. We only need to extend our imagination, okay? And the last thing I want to talk about is the role of content creators. Like OES platform that we have is a content aggregator, is a content creator, is also an admin platform. All of these things rolled into one. And with the power of AI, power of technology and digitizing content, it then means that traditional houses like Macmillan, all of these people used to sell books to us in those days, either they reimagine their offer or they will lose out in the long run. So it's a question of recognizing that they're changing roles for everybody within the educational ecosystem and using that knowledge to translate it into empowered learners is critical. I like this quote by Richard Baldwin. It says, it's not AI that's going to take your job, but someone who knows how to use it might. And this is one of the fathers of AI saying to us that artificial intelligence is as good as the person who is using it. So I'm going to put that charge out there that for teachers, for learners, for educators, for administrators, it is a must to embrace artificial intelligence. It is a must to use those tools, learn how to use those tools for more effectiveness. So what can we do? And because I recently moved into teaching a lot around disruption, I'll say to you that one of the terms that have been bandied around is being future proof. Essentially making sure that your role in society can extend into the immediate future, especially in the 4th industrial revolution. And how can you make yourself future ready? A number of things you can do. One, as an organization, school, education sector, you have to embrace technology integration because that's the way to go. We are not going back to the pre-COVID era as much as some people would like to hold on to it. The truth is we're not going back there. Okay. And then this allows us to focus on higher order thinking and creativity. What are the ways that we could leverage technology? What are the ways that we could bring more learners into space? What are the ways we can share the content that we have to improve the learning outcomes of those who have to work with us? Again, we have to think around collaboration and interdisciplinary learning. I mentioned it earlier that for teachers, educators, the use of technology is a must, is an increasingly required demand. You in addition to the pedagogy, the education, psychology, and all of those things, being tech savvy is a requirement for the teaching profession. The education space is such that you can no longer be fit for purpose without being technology compliant. And encourage entrepreneurial mindset. What do I mean by that? It means be an entrepreneur, ideas entrepreneur, It means you are leveraging ideas from different sources, combining it into new thinking, and using that to advance your goals as an educator. Today, we must all cultivate that lifelong learning mindset, a mindset that knows that there's something round the curve, there's something new out there that might be beneficial in my world. How do I bring it into my world and use it for better effectiveness? Digital literacy and critical thinking skills will be in demand. And so for those education sector practitioners, for learners, educators, administrators, fostering digital literacy is a must to prepare us for the kind of world that the fourth industrial revolution is going to launch on us. We are right in it. It doesn't look like it, but we have transitioned gradually into a world where technology has become indispensable in every facet of life. And so those future ready skills that would make you as a human being, for instance, to function well with technology. Sometimes we have terms like augmented reality, which is a combination of human beings and robots working together to deliver outcomes. That is the next frontier, and we must all be ready for that. Okay. I'm going to close by saying disruption is the order of the day. As we go into the fourth industrial revolution, the intrusion of artificial intelligence is going to be massive on everybody. And I've written a book recently to describe how you can position to lead the disruption era, not necessarily become a victim of it, but benefit from it and thrive through it. Irrespective of the human sphere of endeavor, you need to master disruption. Just like AI is disrupting the education space, you need to become the master of that disruption. And I'm going to stop there so that I don't go too much over the time that's been allotted. I'm going to say thank you, and I'm happy to take your questions. That will be the end of the presentation. I hope it's been useful. I hope you find it beneficial and it stimulates more action that can advance your goals. Thank you. Stay blessed.
OES, smarter planning, smarter learning.